G'day all, it's Colin from PCTLC and thanks for joining me. In this video we're going to be looking at Debian 10 Buster net install. So we're going to do a slightly different install again, so let's do that. So we have some slightly different options here in the net install. We've got advanced options, and one of the viewers brought this to my attention. I have done this before, but I'd forgotten about it. So we'll go to expert install. So if we go back, so this normal install here, even though it's a net install, will pretty much follow the same pattern as what the other two installs did, the end cursors and the graphical. But this one here differs slightly in the way that it installs. So we'll go to expert install, and we've got a whole heap of options here. It's asking us what to do, so we're going to do this manually. Choose language, English for me, Australia, English AU UTF-8, and then we go down to English AU. Hit the space bar to select that, tab to go to continue and enter. English AU UTF-8, yep. Access software for a blind person using a braille display, so that you can see that it's got more options even for people with disabilities, which is pretty cool. We'll configure the keyboard. American English, that's me. Detect network hardware, so we'll just leave that selected. Modules to load, yep. Configure the network, auto configure networking, yes. Just leave that as default, whatever it is. Continue, and that'll be just fairly much the same as the other installers we've done so far. So this is the Debian, we'll call it net for net install. Don't need a domain name. Choose a mirror. Don't know if we do, no. Let's go back and HTTP for Australia and RNet. Don't need a proxy. Now this is where things get a little bit interesting. We can choose to install Buster-Stable, which is the latest release. Bullseye-Testing, and Sid-Unstable. So from this point onwards, I could run Sid. Now, if you go Buster, when you go to your sources.list, if you just change anything with Buster to Sid and do an update and a dist-upgrade, then you'd be running Sid anyway, but you have the choice to do that from here. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to, for this one, install Buster-Stable, just the same as the other ones. Download installer components. Yeah, I don't think I need any of this stuff anyway. No, I don't. So we'll just skip that. Right, let's set up users and passwords. Enable shadow passwords. Shadow passwords make your system more secure because nobody is able to view even encrypted passwords. Passwords are stored in a separate file that can only be read by special programs. The use of shadow passwords is strongly recommended, except in a few cases such as NIS environments. So enable that, yes. Allow login as root, yes. So we'll put in a root password. Create a normal user account. It's a bad idea to use the root account for normal day-to-day activities, such as the reading of electronic mail, because even a small mistake can result in disaster. You should create a normal user account to use for those day-to-day tasks. So create a normal user account, yes. Continue that, and yep, my name is fine, and choose a password for my name. Configure the clock, set the clock to NTP. Yep, that'll do. NTP will do. And that's the server, yep. And we go to Western Australia for me. Detect disks. Partition disks. We're going to go for manual install. Go down to SDA. That's a fresh, it's VirtualBox, but it's been created. It's a fresh disk. It's just like just a completely clean disk. So let's enter that. Create new partition table, yes. GPT I think we can use. We got free space. Create new partition. I think I'll give, we'll do 2 gigabytes for swap. At the beginning of that, use as swap area. Done setting up that partition. And then we go to the free space again and create a new partition, give it the rest of whatever's left. And it'll be an ext4, its mount point is root, and bootable flag will switch on. Bootable flag is not turning on, so maybe because I've done GPT. That's probably why, I think. Done setting up that partition. So it's left free space either side. Finish writing the disk and write the changes, yes. Install the base system. Gives you an option to choose your kernel. I'm just going to go with the Linux image AMD 64. We'll include all available drivers for that. Let's configure the package manager. Now this is another interesting point of the net install, is it gives you the option to use non-free software. So you don't have to go into your sources.list to change and add contrib non-free to the end of all the lines. This will be done automatically if you choose yes at this point. So we are going to yes, use non-free software. Enable source repositories in apt. Yes, we will enable source repositories, yep. And also you get a chance to add backported software if you wish. Security updates, release updates, and backported software. So why not hit the spacebar? Let's include backported software. So enabling backports here does not cause any of them to be installed by default. It only allows you to manually select backports to use. Okay, that's fair enough. So it doesn't actually tell you how though. Let's move on. Select and install software. Yep, that's do install security updates automatically, yes. The popularity contest, no, not for VirtualBox. And the fun part, choosing a desktop. This is always a hard decision, but what have I done? I've done XFCE, I've done Cinnamon, so I think I'll do KDE, hit the space bar, and let's continue that. And then we'll install the Grub to the bootloader. Install Grub bootloader to master boot record, yes. device SDA. No, we're not going to force Grub to EFI. It's not an EFI. It's legacy boot. And finish the installation. Yes. Let's continue that, and that should reboot, and then we can come back into the fresh desktop. So here we are in the login screen of our new, oh that's interesting, can't see the letters. Okay, so I couldn't see any typing there on the login. I don't know what's going on there. The user was already selected, but I couldn't see that, so all I had to do was put the password in, but I was typing my user first. That was really strange. It's probably a VirtualBox thing, I would say. So there we have a fresh Plasma desktop to work with. Let's just see what we've got in... let's try a console to start with. And let's do a nano etc apt sources.list and have a look at that. And as you can see, it's got the backports there, it's got the contrib non-free on every line, which is what we did manually on all the other ones, so that's pretty cool. So that's all working out of the box, no problem. Control X to exit, so we don't need to do anything there. All we've got to do is the guest additions, so we'll see how we go with that. That shouldn't be a problem anyway, so let's just check that out. So su dash and password, yep. So we need apt install and dkms. Install those, yes. So there's no messing about with this one. Should be a pretty simple case of install that and log out and log back. Restart the system, and then we'll run the VBoxLinuxAdditions, and we should be up and going, no problem at all. Let's exit that and exit normal user and do a restart. Let's reboot the system. Reboot. Let's have another look at this login screen. It was really weird. Maybe it's better after we put the guest additions in, maybe. So as you can see here, it says select your user and enter password. So there's nothing to select. But when I type, you cannot see any letters at all. So the user's been selected, so I'm not selecting anything, just type my password and enter and done. But that's just, I don't know if that's a VirtualBox thing. Be interested to see what that looks like on real hardware. That might be something I end up doing. Although I did download the Plasma with the Calamares installer, so that would be interesting. So what we need to do here is go to the file manager. First of all, we shall rescale that. Devices, insert guest additions. Let's get them up and running first. Just make sure that that's VBox guest additions is there. Yep, alrighty. Let's do a console. su dash. So let's just scale that back up so you can see what's going on, and we shall. Yep, we're as root, so change directory to media. Had a brain freeze then. Media, CD-ROM, and that's normally 0 at the end. I don't know why the autocomplete doesn't put the 0 in there. Hit tab to finish that off, and then let's do that. That's ls for list. And let's go sh space dot / VBox LinuxAdditions.run, and there we go. So no messing about with that, it's already done. I don't know if we have sudo or not. I wouldn't think so, but we can certainly try that out. And that's done, so let's exit out of there, exit again, and let's do another restart. And Control F full screen, and there we go, we have our full screen Plasma running. Let's try console. We didn't do an update, did we? I didn't do an update, but everything installed without doing an update anyway. So let's drop that down again. Let's do another scaled so we can see it a little bit better. We'll do a, let's see if sudo's working out of the box. I doubt it very much. Sudo apt-get update. Now, see, colon is not in the sudoers file. This incident will be reported. So su-space and password. Usermod -a capital G sudo colon. Now, I'm pretty sure that adds me into sudoers file. I'm going to exit out of that, and I'm going to do another reboot and see if sudo is working, just so people understand how to get sudo running. So let's just check that out again and see how we go, see if that's working. Sudo, oh, I think I did that wrong, I can't even see that. Sudo apt-get update. And there we go, so that's working. So that's how you get your name in the sudoers file. Yeah, so there's no CD-ROM in the repositories like we had before because it was a net install. So the net install, all we've had to do really is add our sudoers name, and that's it. Add our name to sudoers file, and pretty much that's done deal. If we do sudo apt-get dist-upgrade, and we're up to date. So let's exit that. So now you have the choice of running as root, or you can run sudo. Sudo after a certain amount of time it gives you a command as an elevated privilege, and then if you don't use it after time, and I don't know what that time is with different distros, but it times you out of elevated privileges. So I'd have to think that's a bit more secure than just running su dash and being root all the time. I'm not really sure. I suppose if you're running as root and you're in control and you do what you need to do when you get out of there, it's probably just as safe as anything else. I'm no expert on that. It's just the logical way of looking at it. Not 100% sure. So there's our desktop. Now we do have a problem with the text on the background there because I can't see any text whatsoever in there. So I'm not sure what the deal is with that. So if we try go into system settings and maybe change the theme, freeze dark. Now we can see, so it's not honouring the dark text on a white background, so that's a bit odd. I'm not sure if that's a some sort of bug or something. I haven't seen that in Plasma before, but we are talking a very raw Plasma when it comes to Debian, I'd have to say. Other distros who offer it as by default, like Kubuntu, would have tweaked all those little issues that come along with default Plasma, I suppose. So that was the net install. As you can see, very advantageous for all the little knick-knack things that need to be done after install when you've downloaded or when you've installed with the end cursor or the graphical, the net install has a lot of advantages, whereas it gives you the options without having to do all the hard work after installing. I don't mind going changing the sources.list and all that's no big deal anyway, but for people who just don't like messing about with that, that's a really good option. So that is the net install of Debian 10 Buster. Hope you found it interesting and informative. Hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.